Rising grain prices are changing the fertilizer equation. Corn's rebound has made potash look unusually good value, but difficult U.S.-Canada trade talks could bring fresh risk. Meanwhile, phosphate prices remain stuck despite high production costs and signs of stronger global demand. I'm Johanna Bota, and joining me to discuss what this means for farmers and fertilizer markets is Josh Linville, VP of Fertilizer at StoneX. Josh, great to see you again.
You as well.
So I want to start with potash because corn prices have risen while potash prices have actually barely changed. So how much more attractive does that make potash for farmers right now?
So it's important to note when I am looking at my values, when I put values on Twitter or I put it out on these videos and things like that, I'm looking at a broad spectrum. So I'm looking at, let's say, corn price from a Chicago perspective. I'm looking at potash from a NOLA, New Orleans, Louisiana perspective. Nobody else is looking at those values because your elevator, your local retailer has a different basis. So before we say anything, it's important to note any of this said is a conversation needs to be had locally with your retailer. It may be that retailer's opportunity is better than what we're seeing. It may be worse, but that's why you take what we show and you say, okay, let's take this down to my ground level and see if it mirrors what I'm seeing at what I can do for my operation.
Correct.
That said, corn prices have been on an absolute tear. It is phenomenal for the farmers that are out there. The 52-week low on December 26th corn was 425.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday got up, I think it was almost 525 before it fell back and closed the day at like 515. All that to sit there and say, to your point, potash has barely moved. Potash hasn't really moved much in terms of price
Yeah.
yet.
Mm.
When I look at the price relationship between those two, and I look at how many bushels of corn it takes to pay for a ton of potash in that relationship, right now, over the last several years, this is the bottom 20%. That means out of every single week going back years,
Mm-hmm.
we've only seen as good or better values than today, 1 out of every 5 weeks. It is a phenomenal value. We're actually getting down. When I look at it, if we're in the 50th percentile, the middle 50 percentile, it's good. It's decent. Just kind of keep what you're doing. If you're in the high side, it's one of those things, hey, can I cut? Can I mine the soil? When you're in that bottom 25% like we are today, these are the opportunities to probably take a look and say, is this an opportunity for me to start building soil levels?
Mm.
So these opportunities, we talk about these, we've talked about all summer and said, it's going to be hard. There will be opportunities that pop up. This is one of them. This is worth a conversation. Again, do not take my word for it. Go to your local level and see if the numbers look. They ought to be able to give you the same types of information, but have that conversation. Potash looks phenomenal. Everything else looks better than it did. Potash looks really, really good.
Do you think that there is a case for still waiting, though? Or do you think that they should consider buying now? Or do you really think that it's very much dependable on where you are and what the information is there?
My fear is that we're going to see a rush of demand.
Mm-hmm.
We all have seen this so many times before. And let's face it, crap rolls down or downhill all the time. It ends at the farmer. Whenever grain prices start to go higher, fertilizer tends to follow and everything starts to go up with it. And this is what I talk about. These opportunities are so fleeting. The grain prices popped up. We've not yet seen potash values and other things really recognize it
Mm-hmm.
yet. But if we start to see farmers step in and buy, the retailer is going to step in to buy. If the retailer starts to step in and buy, now you get this demand wave rolling. We all know the manufacturers are going to try and take advantage of it. They're in it to make money, no different than any of the rest of us are. So that's my fear is we're going to see demand start picking up. That is going to start supporting some of the values out there. And that doesn't even take into account some of the global things and even the more of the domestic North America things that are going on that could shift this thing higher.
Well, actually, that brings me to my next point. So something could challenge this value, and that's the trade tensions between Canada and the U.S. Could that change the picture? I mean, what would it mean for the U.S. potash market if the talks do break down? Because so far, potash has been saved from all talks, but it's also been used as leverage, I would say.
Yeah, it has been threatened multiple times by both sides of the border. The Canadians have threatened it. President Trump has threatened it, but fortunately, potash has fell under the trade agreement,
Mm-hmm.
and so nobody's really been able to do anything to it yet.
Yet,
To
yeah.
your point, this trade talks are not going well, and my fear is if they finally go away, let's say both sides just throw their hands up in the air and say, "Fine, you know what? We're done with it anyway. Do away with the agreement. Let's cancel it." Well, now all of a sudden, The Canadians, as a retaliatory measure, can put tariffs on any potash that goes to the US.
Right.
President Trump can do the same thing. And there could be times of the year where the Canadian manufacturer has to pay a little bit more of the rate. But again, what direction does crap roll? It goes downhill. It ends at the farmer. Eventually, it turns into a situation where the farmer is the one in the US is having to pay that tariff. That's what truly worries me. Potash has been the one. It's been stable. It's been decently priced. Right now, it's really well priced. It's been our one anchor when everything else is amiss.
Yeah.
If
So,
this trade agreement goes away, that's where I get a little worried about it.
well, would U.S. buyers have any realistic alternatives to Canadian potash, or would farmers simply have to absorb the additional cost?
This is where it gets a little weird. Our number one supplier of imported potash is Canada. Nearly 90% of our import flow
Oh,
comes from there.
90%. Okay.
90%, 10%, our other chunk of it comes from Russia.
Mm-hmm.
So could Russia pick up some of the pieces? I believe they could. I think you can see the system kind of morph a little bit, bring in more stuff from around the world. It's going to be very, very difficult. And it's a trade partner that, frankly, isn't exactly high on our list of friends right now.
Okay, so then I pose the question to you again. Should farmers take advantage of today's value before the trade tensions potentially push prices even higher?
I think it's worth at least a layer consideration. So many people I talk to, I'll press this to them. I was like, how do you buy your fertilizer? I usually buy it in one fell swoop. How do you sell your grain? Oh, I sell that all the way through the year. I sell layer after layer after layer. Why don't we do that with fertilizer? And I think with the potash where it is today, if it isn't something in your area where it's an absolute screamer of a deal, but it's good, and you're like, but I think it could get better for whatever reason, why not do a layer?
Yeah.
I think it's worthy of at least a layer consideration. I will tell you, if my friends and my family ask me, I am telling them buy the potash that you need for the fall application and get it on the field. Sell some grain with it, but this is a very good opportunity. I will tell my friends and family that. I will tell the audience that.
Josh, one quick thing before we wrap up, a quick word on, phosphates. Supplies are still coming from Morocco. We talked about this last week, but prices aren't moving much. Can you tell us why that is?
Well, number one, it's because we were already one of the cheapest prices in the world. Like we laid out before the tons even started to arrive. When you look at all the major price points around, NOLA DAP was already one of the cheapest FOB prices in the world.
Right.
And so as you look at that, it's kind of like, well, why would the price fall even further to a discount versus the rest of the world? Number two, a lot of these tons that are arriving from Morocco are not DAP. They're not MAP. These products that we desperately
Yeah, we
need.
talked about
They're
that last week. Yeah.
phosphate. Exactly. So it's kind of like they're P2O5 units. Don't get me wrong. And for certain sections of the North America, that's a product that they use, and it's great for them. And trust me, I could not be happier for you guys. But for the bulk of the marketplace, it's DAP or MAP, so it's the wrong product. The third is even if our price did start to dip, we're either going to see production down further because of that high production cost, or you're going to start seeing exports. There's more global demand that's starting to pick up in different places around the world.
Right.
And as the US manufacturer looks at that, if the US market, the Canadian market sees prices start to fall, they may sit there and say, fine, we'll just start exporting more. I can make more money doing that than leaving it here in our own country. Frankly, the buying hasn't exactly been over the top. So let's just export it and go after that business. So it's very difficult to get the price to fall when you're already the lowest price in the world and you're already dealing with production costs that are sky high.
Understood. Josh, thank you again for keeping us up to date. And thank you to our viewers for watching. For more financial content, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.